Good afternoon Facebook and good afternoon Instagram. We are live for Feature Friday for Dorking NCT and on the Sling Consultancy over on Instagram. So today we are talking about pelvic tilt. So pelvic tilt is the position of your baby's spine and that tailbone. So babies when they're born are very C-shaped, and so naturally their head will just rest on you. Sometimes if their back is straightened, they don't have that pelvic tilt, and it means that their head can move backwards. So a really good example of pelvic tilt is if neutral, you put your fingers on your hips and you tip your hips backwards. That's not a pelvic tilt. That was the other way. Neutral and then forward. And you can see actually I'm not doing anything to my head, but what it does to the top of my spine and my head is it does move those things. And the pelvic tilt is really, really key for carrying because it helps stabilise the spine and the head. And it also enables you to get a better seat or better positioning in sort of that hammock of the sling. And it also means that baby sits down into the sling. So sometimes if you're finding baby's head is too far out of the top of the carrier, actually if you do the pelvic tilt they'll sort of sink down again because they're sitting in the sling rather than on the sling, which is really, really common. It doesn't always get talked about much. Also it's really easy to over tighten your sling, especially when you've got a really alert active child. So we'll often over tighten and put baby in. So that's just doing the pelvic scoop, sort of tilting them towards you like that. Just doing that sometimes is enough to get them to tilt their pelvis towards you. Support their hands, go under the carrier, bring the carrier up. And if you've got a lovely nice pelvic tilt, their knees will be slightly higher than their bum in that sort of nice M shape that we have. So what you'll tend to find is if baby's got really straight legs, their legs almost look like they're coming backwards like that, and what you're looking for is that lovely drop into the sling. So you're looking for this bit to be a little bit lower there. What you'll find as well is it'll just be a bit more comfortable because they're using the sling instead of sitting on top of the waistband. This one's got quite a soft waistband, so it's generally not as obvious, but if you've got a really firm waistband, that can feel really, really obvious when baby's sitting on it and not in it. So for example, if baby was sitting more on the sling then doesn't support baby up to the top of their neck. So going in and tilting their pelvis will sit them lower into the carrier. So that's a really good adjustment. If you are back carrying and you find that your baby has straightened their legs and they're quite straight, and then what happens is when they fall asleep, your baby's head might go backwards. And generally that means that, and it can happen for front carrying as well, but it's generally more obvious on your front because they curve typically, if you're carrying in your female, around that position, and obviously your back is quite flat, so they don't have that same opportunity for curvature. So you might find when you back carry that actually your baby might be a little bit straighter, and you might need to do a pelvic tilt once they're on your back. So I'll quickly pop my baby on my back, and there are videos for showing these, how to get your baby on your back safely. Absolutely just takes practice. So there we go. And tighten, pulling forwards. So sometimes, especially if they're not, wanting to go in the carrier, but you need them to go into the carrier. If their legs are going that way, you might find that their head goes backwards a little bit. So just going in and tilting their pelvis towards you, doing that motion of turning their hips and their bottom down, will hopefully stabilise their head. So then the head will just rest on the back of you. Typically for a back carry, this doll's a little bit small. You'd want the baby a little bit higher up here. So just adjust your positioning. And if you're finding that once baby's asleep, their head's lolling back and you can't do the pelvic tilt because you've done it too tight, loosen your carrier. Just pull back on the buckles, go in, pelvic tilt, and then retighten, because if you've done the carrier up nice and tight and their legs are straight, there won't be the space for them to sink into that sling. So what you're thinking of, a really good way to think of it is like a deck chair or like a hammock. Rather than sitting on the top of the deck chair straight, you want to be sinking into that shape of the deck chair. So you want that bum to be down, and then that helps support the rest of the back and the spine. You can have a good carrier and you can have a narrow base carrier, and both can have poor pelvic tilt, and that will absolutely affect your comfort and the support to baby. So It's not necessarily about the carrier itself, it's often about how it's being used. So we'll often get people come to Sling Library or for consults and they will say, well, you know, I bought the best carrier, that is out there, you know, it has all these, ticks all these boxes, but it's not comfortable. So some checks to go through. One of the key things is your pelvic tilt. So you absolutely want that baby supported knee to knee with that nice little tilt. So just that little tilt there. And again, you can practice doing that yourself and feel how that adjusts your posture and your head. So pelvic tilt is really, really key. Sometimes babies that have reflux or that have digestive issues don't like to be too curved. So there are different things that you can do for that in terms of adjusting positioning, because some babies will just naturally straighten their bodies more. If it's something that you're having issues with, then share some pictures or get in touch and we can see if we can help you. Our next Sling Library is after, Surrey's half term is actually next week. We just had Sling Library this week. So our next Sling Library is the 12th of November. And we have sessions at Bookham at the Baptist Church in November as well. So have a great week. There'll be no live next week because it's half term. And hopefully we will have the Ergo Embrace, the new newborn soft carry-out from Ergo for our next Feature Friday. Have a great weekend. It does look like it's going to be slightly wet, but I hope you manage to get out and about. And yeah, have a great weekend.